GM, everyone. Welcome to this special edition of Flywheel. I'm DeFi Dave, and I'm here with Kiet and Sam, and we're going to do a special edition, like I said, going over all our predictions for next year, as well as a little recap of this year. Guys, how you feeling about this episode? I'm really excited for this one. I've been thinking quite deeply about this for some time, what's going on next year. And like one thing I'm trying to do is like, how do I not be a basic bitch? How do I not have like the same predictions as everyone else? And like, what are the surprises that are going to come next year? Like, how do I not be a bandwagoner? And like, that's kind of like how I made my predictions. And so what about you guys?
I think being on the bandwagon is good sometimes. You know, the things that you want to try to get are the trends, right? So it's more about trends than anything else.
I think I got a blend of like some consensus views, some contrarian views. So I feel like this is going to be a good pod.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same here. I think I have a little bit of both, but like there's some things that are definitely out there for mine. I think it's good to be contrarian and go against the grain, but also like, have that balance and all. So let's get right into it. Kiet, I believe you prepared for us. Yeah, you prepared for us a little year in review, a recap of the whole macro picture of crypto,
just
Web3 and DeFi. So just a little
snippet, snippet, right? Just to kind of recap on what the hell happened this year. So let's just start off in like, Q1 2022. FTX raised about, $2.4 billion, and FTX US raised $400 million. Tiger Global invested almost $350 million in, a handful of crypto projects. Twitter Blue finally to allow NFT displays, and Facebook and Instagram doing the same. And then Ukraine donations actually hit $20 million in 3 days. The Luna Foundation raised $1 billion for UST reserves. This is still all in Q1, guys. Just Q1.
I just want to give like some like context to this. This was like top of the bowl. Like everybody was raising, money was flowing, interest rates were low. It was just a different time. And like for those that's been around, it felt like the top. It definitely felt so toppy at this time. When everyone's it felt great. I mean, it felt great.
A Circle was about to go SPAC it. That's a big deal. Still in Q1, last big news in Q1 is that there was the Ronin Axie Bridge hack, which is $620 million. That was a pretty
North Koreans.
Big. That was cray. And then, let's slide forward into Q2. Largely, there's like just two overarching news in Q2. It's like one is the 3AC blow up, which kind of happened in May, June time. And then this case I thought was very interesting is when the U.S. prosecutor charged insider trading to the OpenSea employee.
That guy, Nate?
Yeah. I don't know what his name was, but
Nate Chastain.
It was just it was just crazy, right? It's like, wow, you could he was
being made an example of.
Yeah, definitely got slapped hard. And then now in Q3, Tesla sold 75% of their BTC holdings, which is about almost $1 billion. And the U.S. Treasury sanctioned Tornado Cash address.
Which is a direct effect from the whole Ronin hack and the North Koreans there.
Yeah. And then the Genesis CEO stepped down. The ex-CEO of Alameda, Sam Tabasco, stepped down. Michael Saylor stepped down. Nomad hack for another $190 million. And then in the late end of Q3, we have the Ethereum merge, which was successful. There was obviously the Wintermute hack of $160 million.
So many fucking hacks. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then the CFTC charged UkiDAO with multiple violations. The Kraken CEO stepped down. That was just Q3. Now we're going to move on to Q4. BNY Mellon begins crypto custody. Big deal. Fidelity enables ETH trading for institutional clients. CZ invests $500 million to buy Twitter with Elon. MakerDAO invests $500 million in U.S. Treasuries. And then Mango Market exploited for $114 million. And the co-founder of Polkadot, Gavin Wood, stepped down. A lot of people stepping down this year, just left and right, just stepping down.
I think it's a good thing. Bring in new blood.
Rotate out the old guard. And then obviously November has been dominated by the SBF FTX Alameda collapse. That pretty much took headlines every single day. Also came in was like the Reddit NFT thing. That was quite a big deal. And Polygon BD and literally everybody to throughout the whole year. So I didn't include that, but Polygon BD like from
the
Starbucks
real
to Nike to
MVPs.
Facebook. Yeah, like the real MVP. And now here we are, and that pretty much wraps up what a year in review looked like in 3 minutes.
I think there's a couple more things that
Thanks
you
for
guys
that.
missed. Guys, there's a couple more things that
Oh,
we
yeah.
missed there. So like think about the whole like Sifu drama with like Wonderland time and all that. Like
Oh,
you know, we have the COO of Quadriga who like ends up in
Right.
charge of like a $1 billion protocol.
right,
and MIM
right.
as well too.
And it's
Right,
still
the
dropping
treasury.
stuff. And it's
Yeah.
still
I know,
releasing
still dropping
stuff.
Yeah. All the stuff with like Andre at the time, like his arc of going from like
solidly.
from like solidly
the Phantom
to
arc,
like
yeah.
to like quitting crypto to like coming back and joining the Phantom team again. Like that was a nice, interesting redemption arc. There's a lot of good
Ongoing.
stories there. Yeah,
It's ongoing. I don't think you can classify it as a redemption arc just yet. Let's see where it redeems to first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you mention Tornado
whole
Cash
Luna
as well
collapses.
too?
Yeah, no, he did mention it.
Yeah, that was pretty large as well too. I mean, I think from a significant wise, like that's going to have some pretty substantial impacts going forward. And then what else? I mean, like there's just it was day to day. I mean, the first half of the year there was just so much stuff that happened on just open up chat and get in Telegram chat. There's a million things happening.
I mean, it's just tough in crypto because you have like 1 year happen in 1 month. And so you're really recapping like 12 years of action. And, and it just happens in a year.
Yeah. And we didn't even really cover anything that was happening in like NFT land as well too, right? Because like all the Bored Ape Yacht Club stuff, like all the other projects that came out as well too. Really incredible times, you know.
It's really a testament to how big crypto or Web3 or whatever you call it is now. That like we can only cover this like small sliver, you know, to get a recap done in 3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
and like so many and so many smaller like sub stories, right? Like even with some like you remember when Stargate, their entire launch was taken over by Alameda. Like Alameda just came in with 25 million. Like
yeah.
They farmed and then they dumped.
Exactly.
As they usually do.
Yeah. So there's one of my favorite documenters of like TradFi and just broader markets is this professor at it's in Connecticut somewhere. He's a chemistry professor, but his name is Dave Collum. And what he does is he takes like he essentially diaries every day. He like pulls all the news stories, big news stories from the day, throws it into a Word doc, and then when December comes, he writes like a 200,000 word like epic every year covering like every single thing. And you know, I think like if he was doing the crypto one, it'd probably end up being about 400,000 words for this year. Just SPF alone, like everything that happened with them. Oh my God! Like
it would actually be 6,900,000 words. Actually, 6,900,000 words.
I mean, Mazzari dropped the thesis like yesterday, and it was like what 192 pages or something like that.
Yeah,
it was like what I was told.
Also on the Frax side, Frax had its ups and downs for sure.
Shipped.
It just shipped, but like you look at like the first half of the year, you had like all those different like exploits and hacks, like whether it was with Rory or with Nomad and this and that. You also had the 4 pool that just blew up.
Dodged the bullet there though.
Dodged the bullet. I think it was like a lot of and also even before those bridge hacks, Frax pulled a lot of liquidity from those bridges as well as like different lending AMO. So like the losses could have been a lot worse. And at the end of the day, like Rory hack ended up getting settled. They only got half their money back, but better than nothing. Came to an on-chain agreement with Fey holders. So that was like pretty cool to see on-chain governance in action. But then, on the bright side, like even through like all those obstacles and through the fire, what came out was an incredible amount of shipping. Frax really grew beyond a stablecoin. It's now a full-fledged like financial juggernaut and ecosystem, whether it's with, you've guys seen that one meme of Frax pulling the Zodiac, whether it's like FrxSwap, FrxLend, FrxETH, Frax Ferry, FPI. There's like 5-6 different things.
Everything you want. Yeah.
Everything you want.
Powerhouse.
Now soon, like Frax BTC, Fed Master Account, this, that,
TM.
like TM, to be to TBD. But yeah, testament to the Frax team of just, staying focused and continuing to ship and knowing what their ultimate goal is. Because I feel like a lot of projects, they're just kind of like building and trucking ahead, or they're trying to like just stay alive. But, Frax, I couldn't have more confidence in them. They have the runway, they have the roadmap, they have the team, like,
and also a lot of drama
Frax
in governance this year, right? So like the whole contention of the temple unlock. You also had the Frax shares Frax unlocked, where people thought that like maybe Frax shares was going to go to zero, right? When the entire liquidity pool got unlocked, which it didn't. It was fine. And
bullish
I think,
unlock.
I think the governance meta has been very healthy throughout this year, and I hope it continues into next year.
I think governance has been very healthy. Just, dialogue and discussion has been vibrant, has been, pretty high quality. Actually, of course, another interesting development in the Frax ecosystem is Convex, getting into Convex and getting the meta pool, the Frax BP pool, huge. Like those are W's in the Curve war, integrating with Curve on a protocol level, as well having Convex's support, like massive developments. So it really puts like Frax in definitely like the top tier of DeFi for sure. And now it's just like the goal, and at the end of the day, like all the other stables just kind of went away, or just, completely just got lower in size. But like Frax is now just top 5 stablecoin. And now and when everybody thinks of stablecoins, they think of Tether, USDC, BUSD, DAI, and Frax. And so it's just like a matter of keeping the momentum going and, finding new ways to grow.
100%.
And I think like we never talk about price on this pod, but given that it is the year-end pod,
not financial advice.
Definitely not financial advice, but I just feel like in the whole 4 pool craze was when Frax hit its high, right?
Yeah. The high was actually at the beginning of the year, but then it had like a double top around because all the Luna boys came to Frax. And so the Luna retail wave, because at the beginning of the year, I think, it just ran up to 40 and then went down to 20, then ran up to 40 again with the whole 4 pool craze. And then after the Luna collapse, it was just open season on all stable coins. And so everyone just FUD, just abundant, everyone in people trying to attack stable coins, both on chain and off chain. Definitely a really fucking scary time. But what were you saying?
Right. No, I was just, the reason I brought that up is no matter where this price, if you were to retract back to at the beginning of the year where Frax hit the $40 mark versus Frax today, and the amount of product that Frax has released over the course of the year, it speaks to a testament of the team of just not giving a fuck about what the price does and just ship. Fucking ship. Build product and have vision. I think that's a big part too. I think Sam K, obviously we always talk about the Frax team, SEAL Team 6 or SEAL Team 8 over there. But it's really about the vision too, right? Sam K and the team has a very clear vision that they're marching towards, and they're just building all these Lego pieces and these bricks so that they can pave the path forward, which I think is very critical.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I have a question for you guys. What can Frax do next year to better communicate its vision to the wider public and wider DeFi?
I'm going to point at you guys. It's on us, guys.
Nice. Wait.
It's on us. Yeah, it's literally us.
Yeah.
You're looking.
Define yourself. Hold on. Define. What do you mean by wider like public? Like, are you literally talking about retail, or are you talking about just more DeFi people? Or are you talking about more DAO outreach? Or are you talking more about like where is this public?
When I'm talking, how can you know how like or like our projects? It's like you just
Mm,
describe them in like one sentence. It's like what they're trying to do, or like take something complicated and put in like one or two sentences. Be like encapsulate what they're doing in like a short summary. Like Aave, like lending protocol, Uniswap, like trade any asset, digital asset. Just we're gonna be like a new currency 3-3. Well, not 3-3 anymore, but like you know, free rent, unpegged like new reserve currency, like Frax. I think, like I said earlier, Frax is more than a stablecoin now; it's a full financial system, and it's just like now, how can we better communicate that in like 1 to 2 sentences? Like, how can we what do you guys think?
mm,
So I think for people that are in DeFi and that are on chain, I don't think it's a hard sell. I think that you take a look at Frax and it either you just either like it or you don't like it, right? Where you understand what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think the hard thing that Frax hasn't been able to do, which other things like DAI have been, is get integrated at the exchange level. So you know, Frax doesn't like
Centralized exchanges.
yeah, centralized exchanges, right?
Sure.
Like you can't really buy Frax anywhere on centralized exchanges, or it's not like tradable in the same way that DAI is, right? And there's a reason for this in that the Frax DAO doesn't pay for market makers to go out, and it doesn't lend market makers tokens to go out and trade it
Are you
on
talking about
centralized
Frax or
exchanges.
FXS?
Frax. I mean, Fractures is traded on like Binance and stuff, but like
The stablecoin.
getting Frax on a centralized
Okay.
exchange is a little bit hard, right? And that's fine. I think that's okay. I think like, there's eventually enough people will come on chain where we have a bigger market share. But right now it's just about like laying the roots and like really defining the kind of process of saying like, if you're going to be in DeFi, you might as well use Frax, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure. And yeah, that's tricky, centralized exchanges, because they're really entrenched, and I expect less centralized exchanges to be created and built after the whole FTX fiasco. So, you know, I mean, maybe I can see like it makes more sense to Frax to expand to example like Binance Smart Chain, and it's more likely for that to happen than it is for them to like Frax to be on Binance as a pair.
Yeah.
Although, like at one point, USD was like a denominated asset on Binance at like one point. Like they were doing that, so it's like not impossible, but it's just very hard. But it takes some
Yeah.
Lindy, it takes some growth. Like I think it's possible, but we'll see. Maybe that's something for later this, maybe like 2024, 2025. Who knows? But you
Well,
guys want to
I
get into
think
predictions now?
yeah, just to wrap up that point.
Oh,
I
you
mean,
go, you go.
you had a really nice thing that you said the other day, where on the I think it was the last episode of the podcast that we published with Rogatachi, where you were telling him like, you know, the value or like Frax is backed by DeFi, right? Which
Yeah,
which also means that the value of Frax as a whole is tied to DeFi, right? And when DeFi as a whole is kind of down in the gutter, so is Frax, right? But when DeFi is going to expand, if you assume that it's going to expand into this kind of like all-encompassing, globally connected thing, then yeah, then all tides will rise with that boat.
yeah. You just gotta survive. You just gotta show up. You just gotta survive and tread water.
Exactly.
Tread water
Exactly.
or tread ice, because I not tread ice, or just survive ice in the bear market.
yeah. All right. Let's jump into some predictions.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2022, the year of pain. 2023. If you guys like have to describe like 20, if you were to describe like 2023 in one word, or like if you were to describe like 2023 coming up in one word, like what do you think is like? How would you describe it?
The word for me for 2023 is build. Like that's kind of what I've been echoing in my head, and that's what I want to embody this next year. It's just let's build. Like
Let's build.
we had a great time in 2021. We had a great time some parts of 2022, but then now is like time to hunker down and just build that next thing.
Yeah, building a bear. Building a bear.
There's a builder market right now.
I got a meme to send you. Yeah, I'll send it to you after the show. Maybe we could have it as the cover of this prediction.
We'll have it as the cover.
It's literally of like, it's basically a bear, and there's like people building in it, like construction workers, and they're building in a bear.
Yeah, we'll use that for the cover art.
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you, Sam?
How about you guys?
2023, one word.
Shanghai. So
Shanghai.
Oh,
yeah.
See you in Shanghai. Yeah.
Exactly. So 2023 is going to be the year that the ETH staking unlocks finally. And there's going to be free choice in the market about where people should move their ETH for staking. And I think the general consensus on this podcast here is that Frax has to design the most optimal way of providing both liquidity and high yield for staking providers. And so I think when Shanghai unlocks, and this is actually my first prediction, right? So if we're going to hop into them, my first prediction is
let me say my word, then we can hop it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Or just yeah. So my first prediction for 2023 is that FrxETH is going to break 1 million by the end of 2023, 1 million deposited ETH. And that may be on the low number actually, because you think about like Lido has 4.5 million ETH staked in their staking contract. When all that gets opened up, it's going to flow towards where the yields are highest, right? And if we're offering double-digit yields while Lido's only offering 4.5 or 5% or something like that, it's naturally just going to come to Frax. So, Lido may lose 1 million, 2 million, 3 million ETH once the staking contract's up, and I think a good majority of that's going to come over to FrxETH.
That's a good prediction. Even if Shanghai doesn't happen this year, but let's say if it gets delayed, and at this rate, I think FrxETH is on its way to 1 million staked ETH. So, but yeah, I agree with that. ETH is just going to go to the highest yield, and if Frax has the highest yield and it has built the best system, then that's the logical conclusion.
Yeah.
Okay. My concern here is that how much in bribes are we going to have to pay to kind of keep on providing that 10% double digit yield?
It doesn't even have to be that. I think even a 2%
CRV rewards.
I think even a 2% difference in yields would be enough to drive it, right? So if you have free and open markets where you can move your ETH without too much slippage into these different staking products, and even if Frax is getting 7% when the other guys are getting 4 or 5, right? I think that's enough to really to take a huge amount of market share, right?
I agree. I'm just saying to finance or not finance to incentivize 1,000 ETH and to give them even 7% return, I think that's quite high. Trust me, I want this to happen, right? I think
at least it's organic yield.
Yeah, I definitely want this to happen, because if that happens, Frax is going to get repriced and re-rated into a very different tier, right? It's no longer.
Well, let me ask you this question. If let's say we add 1 million ETH, what do you think the staking versus liquidity provision ratio is going to be? How much will be in the LP as a percentage of the contract, and how much will be in the staking contract? Just off the top of your head.
I mean, 60-40, kind of what we see right now.
Yeah,
because we need to incentivize the pool more than the native FrxETH, right? Because you need the liquidity.
But if Shanghai happens, then people can just take the ARB 1-to-1.
Oh, that's fair too, right?
It's just incentivizing the yield is something for before Shanghai, a priority before Shanghai.
Yeah,
After,
that's true.
Before Shanghai.
That's true. But question though, so if you could just redeem your FrxETH into ETH and easy peasy, then there does not need to exist this curve pool. And if this curve pool doesn't exist, then how is Frax going to add that extra yield on top, to
Well, the
to
design
draw
isn't
people
changing,
into
right?
the Fraxy? Oh, what do you mean the design isn't changing?
Well, I mean, FrxETH will still be like a non-interest bearing stablecoin, right? And it's the one
Yeah,
that will
it's
be
not.
used for LP. I guess the assumption is that like other DeFi protocols are going to be using FrxETH at that point, and that there'll be the staking vault, but then there'll also be other places where you can just deposit FrxETH and not stake FrxETH, right?
Maybe in Fraxland.
Fraxland, yeah.
Wait, Fraxland has S-Fraxies already, so I think this is an interesting bit. I like these type of predictions. Let's keep it like Frax focused because we all know the Frax product so well. And then
Wait,
because I was going to go
let me
super
do my
general.
one word before we get into
Yeah.
anything.
Oh yeah.
Let's do
Dave,
it.
go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So my word for 2023 is crab.
Crab.
The crab.
We
Crab.
crabbing.
The crab. We're crabbing. We're gonna crab all 2023. Macro environment, high interest rates, money just more scarce are around. I think DeFi TVL keeps stagnating, market cap keeps just stagnating. I think DeFi growth centers around like more advanced instruments such as derivatives and hedging risk. So I think there's a little bit of like growing ups that DeFi is doing in these environments. And I think in this environment of stagnation, you have quiet whales, institutions. They are here. They are quietly lurking, learning, and accumulating. But the crab, the main thing is the crab because of the macro environment. Yeah, that's that's my word.
Okay.
And that actually goes. That is literally my first prediction too. That's my first prediction is like just crab. Like it's gonna be boring. All the tourists are gonna leave, and it kind of complements yours because of crab, the builders are here and they're gonna be like the primary drivers of this year. It's gonna be a boring year, but productive year. It's like just that part of the cycle. So
For my prediction, I think once we figure out this roll up thing, whether it be the ZK stuff or anything like that, we will have a lot of like roll up as a service, almost like AKA app chains on Ethereum equivalent. If you're kind of like a DeFi protocol that's currently hanging out on Ethereum, like you could just jump up to this other layer and just offer almost gasless or extremely, extremely cheap usage of your protocol. And I think it's going to really change the way the game is played. That's why I'm kind of like, I am bullish on like bridges that can piece all of these app chains together. That's why, who were we talking to just a few days ago that had like a swap that's basically the osmosis equivalent? Was that us? Oh, okay, I could have sworn we were talking about that.
did we talk about that at the meetup?
I don't remember. Shoot,
I don't
but
remember.
anyways, I that's my prediction. Is there's going to be a lot of roll up as a service, and there's going to be a ton of app chains on Ethereum.
Is this your number?
That makes sense, and especially if
Yeah.
they're like L3s almost, where they're like forked off of Arbitrum, right? Where you can move money around Arbitrum for pennies, and then you could go to an app chain where it's pretty much free, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with the growing modular blockchain thesis, and and app chains becoming a thing. I don't know how big of a thing they'll be in 2023, but they will become a thing. People just want to own their real estate. They want to own the land that they populate. So app chains are logical conclusion.
I think it's going to be like, they might not call it app chain. There might be a different, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a different rebrand on it because app chain just doesn't sound nice, right? Initially, DeFi was open finance, but no one liked that. So
Yeah.
like, I think there's going to be a rebrand of whatever that is, but that's going to be the way you launch a protocol. No longer you launch a smart contract, you deploy like a full on roll up as like your thing. as you drop. People just ape in that way. It's going to be my take.
That'd be good for GameFi.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's your number 2 prediction. Okay. Do you guys want to do this as like everybody just goes around and says their like predictions?
Yeah, sure,
Okay.
sure.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So Sam, what's your next prediction?
So I this actually kind of goes off something that you were writing today. I think that in 2023 we're going to get comprehensive and clear stablecoin regulation that allows the...
Took mine.
Okay. Took it. Yeah, see, we're both singing the same thing. Comprehensive and clear stablecoin regulation that allows stablecoins to blossom and grow into a multi-trillion-dollar industry. And what that would mean is that I think that at the end of 23, the market cap of Frax is probably going to be bigger than $10 billion because of that.
Ooh. Okay.
10 billion Frax in circulation. You heard it here first, folks.
10 billion.
Oh my
Frax.
goodness.
Assuming we have good
I agree. Like
going regulation.
Yeah, so that's actually quite similar to my next prediction, which is major cryptocurrency legislation gets passed either in the area of fiat stablecoins or centralized exchanges, or both. I think it's the fiat stablecoins that get regulated for anything that touches the real world. That is what's going to get regulated. And I think finally Congress is at the point where there's enough lobbying going around, like positive lobbying with like Blockchain Association and Coin Center. There's enough like awareness by Congress members. There's even new members of Congress voted in that are much more, fluent in Web3 and cryptocurrency. I agree. I think like whether it's stable coins or even maybe centralized exchanges, like something gets passed.
Yeah. Well, it has to at this point. Like there's a lot of blood in the water. This is the only way
for crypto to grow. This is the only way for like crypto. I mean, I read it in the article, like for crypto to like reach trillions in TVL, like there's all this money on the sideline because there isn't clear guidelines and regulation. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It's just like rules of the game. It's just like, okay, like I know how to play. I know like what to do, what not to do, like what's allowed, what isn't allowed. So, but you guys want to hear like my spicy prediction because of this? So my spicy prediction, like once like this fiat stablecoin legislation gets passed, or even if it doesn't, I think one major institution or bank will announce plans to release their own stablecoin.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
JPM coin.
Yeah.
For
just
sure.
have all these protocols. Yeah. Like JPM, like, no, but like not just like JPM coin isn't like on Ethereum. I can't trade it on Curve. I think it's going to be like, you can trade like JPM coin like on Curve and stuff. Like I think like that's going to happen. I guess protocols are releasing their own stablecoin. Like I think like banks are going to get in on the action. It's just like, wait a second. Like it just makes sense for us to increase our market share. Like in this new world, like we can release like Wells Fargo coin or some shit or
actually,
or UBS coin.
Dave, you touched, so your prediction actually kind of parries into my prediction too. It's like, I also feel like 2023 could be the year of custodial wallets that let you interact with DeFi as like a new layer to come onto, crypto. Is, they abstract away all of the private key stuff. You literally, it would be like logging into your Wells Fargo. And then you just click like a tab and it just takes you to like a reskinned of like say Aave or a reskinned of Curve or something like that. And I think that's going to be like, and these guys are going to start owning these gateways onto crypto and onboarding all the normies and retails. Like imagine in your bank account right next to that, there's a tab that says, it's probably rebranded differently. They won't say DeFi, but it'll say something, and you would just tap
earn
into
3% interest.
Something. There'll be something there, and they're obviously going to capture a fee, right? Like they're always going to take their spread on it. It's like how MetaMask does it, right? You know how convenient it is to swap in MetaMask. I think it's going to have that kind of that kind of feature in your bank.
Yeah, I think I don't have this as one of my predictions, but just it's the two ways it's going to go is like while it's improving in UI and experience and becoming the gateway for like everyday consumers in retail, and then you're going to have the API route where like if I'm like an institution and I want to interact with a protocol, I think they're just going to interact with the API and then hook it up with whatever regulated front ends they have in this and that. Um, I think you kind of see that with Liquidity. They
Yeah,
have like APIs and all these like different front ends, and so I see
yeah,
like
kind of
APIs
cool.
becoming a thing for both institutions and as well as the case for decentralization, especially in the face of Tornado Cash. That yeah, but I don't have that written as one of my predictions.
No, no. I want to change it up a little bit and
Hmm.
ask you guys, what are your thoughts on like the non-DeFi elements of crypto, such as the creator economy, Web3 commerce, decentralized social?
Yeah,
Um,
I have that as one of my predictions as well. Um,
okay, okay.
I think I think like social tokens and NFTs will continue to grow a lot in use. I think Reddit NFTs are a perfect example of that being executed very well. You have things like Friends with Benefits that's been around since 2020, and I think a lot of different creators are now that like so many more people have been onboarded into crypto because of NFTs and whatnot. Now like creators can leverage that to their advantage and be like, oh, like I have this token and like know how to rally the community that way. And I think you're seeing like a growing like demographic of young people that are literally just crypto. I call them crypto citizens, where they're just like, they've done like some stuff on chain here and there.
Hmm.
Maybe they like aped into a farm or they like minted an NFT, but they're not strangers to the chain. And like they kind of like they are up with like the culture of CT and up with the culture just surrounding Web3 and in general. Um, and I think like these people, it's big enough of a demographic where like social tokens can both take hold in that community as well as like maybe people that aren't into like crypto Twitter as much. And so, but they have experience with MetaMask and whatnot. So I see it growing. I
Yeah,
see
I
it like
agree.
being really leveraged because it doesn't even have to be like a speculative thing. It's just like a way to like incentivize and rally a community.
Dude, 100%. I think creator tokens, it won't be called this. Like everything we're calling it now is going to need a complete rebrand, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to come out like way hotter. It's like,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to, they will abstract away everything crypto about it though. You won't even recognize that it is quote unquote a token. It will be
They're just
something
points or
relative.
something.
Yeah, it would just be
Yeah.
points or stars or whatever it is that is relative to that creator, right? Like whatever that creator chooses as like that thing, and it will do that. And I think that all that stuff is going to happen on Polygon just
Polygon.
Oh yeah.
because of the brand recognition or just because of the
Mhm.
brand association that they already have, right? Like because now Polygon becomes almost like the de facto choice. If you're thinking of doing anything crypto related, like oh, you should do a Polygon. It's good enough for Disney. It's good enough for Facebook. It's good
Good
enough for
enough for
blah blah.
Trump.
It's good. It's good enough for Trump. Trump is actually a great example of that, right? Like I mean, he did it the old school style with an NFT, but like these creator tokens, I think is going to come in be really hot. It's like OnlyFans on chain, you know. Yeah, that's my prediction. Also, it's like the creator economy, especially after everybody knows how to get onboarded. Like, imagine going to say like Gary V's website, and you could literally just create an account, and boom, a custodial wallet is spun up for you, and you don't even know. And then you now are able to participate in Gary V's ecosystem. The more pods you listen to, the more tokens you earn, and like there's a reputational system built in, and boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
boom.
I literally just read that on CoinDesk today. They have desk tokens, and I could claim 5 desk tokens for reading an article.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Uh, yeah. Sam, you have any thoughts? If
Yeah.
not, we can move on to your next
Yeah.
prediction.
I'm not as sold in creator economies as you guys. I think they are done well when they're like walled gardens, right? You look at like NBA
Okay.
Top Shot or like So Rare or something, where like companies can have full control of the things that they have. But like kind of the free and open let's just make some NFTs and put them on ETH thing. I don't think the corporate people have figured it out yet, like how to do it well. And it's probably going to take some more time for them to figure out. They're probably like looking to do it, but they probably just want to figure out how they can control it at like the IP level or some sort of like licensing level. I don't even know. Like they want to control the environment, right? At the end.
But
of the
Sam,
day.
it's not going to be corporate.
Yeah, it's not going to be corporate. That's the
Dave,
thing.
Dave, go ahead. Yeah.
It's not going to be corporate, and it hasn't been corporate. Like look at Friends with Benefits. That isn't corporate. You just like buy 5 tokens or 75 tokens, and boom, you're in the Discord and you can go to events. Like
yeah, but these are like, small. These are like small, like
TikTokers.
Right, I understand, but when you think about like multi-billion-dollar publicly traded companies entering into the NFT market, that's when there's the shift, right? And so I think you've seen it tested out a little bit with like I said, with like Top Shot or with SoRare, just in how they've done the licensing deals. But those places are like very heavily walled gardens. And so if you think about like more games, like think about like Blizzard coming and setting up like a game network, like let's say they set up an app chain for like one of their games, right? Like they would want full control over it. They probably don't want their NFTs going out to like ETH based OpenSea. And, they want, it to run on whatever network allows them to be like mostly decentralized and allow for the systems that they're having, and still extract as much revenue in the way that they want to from it for their shareholders.
No, I mean, I get all that on the corporation bit. I just feel like this is going to be the individual creator led. It's not going to have like, a large, maybe like UTA or CAA, like these talent managing agencies will just roll these out as like a package for every single new talent that they sign. Mm-hmm. But I really think it's like literally from grassroots level of how this thing is going to take on. Irene DAO was a good example of this. Trump NFT is an example of this, where it's just an individual creator wanting to do more with their community.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, I agree with this at like the individual level.
Yeah,
so we can go on. Okay,
Sam, what's your moving on? Yeah, what's your prediction? Next one.
So I don't know where it's going to come from or what it's going to look like, but I think there has to be a new competitor that is going to come into the Curve Convex whatever wars, right? Like the downfall of Terra was bad for Frax because they were the largest other player who was actively bribing and incentivizing on Curve, right? And so that provided a lot of value, and that's one of the reasons that Frax shares was able to get up to 40 at the time. And so, like for the long-term health of Frax, like Frax can't be the only. Frax cannot be a monopoly across Curve Convex and Curve and Convex over the long term, right? It just won't work. You need to have a lot of competition there. And Dai's not going to do it. They're not engaged in Curve, even though they're a large part of like 3 pool and many other pools on Curve. So there needs to be a new entrant who we don't know about, or is just small at this point, who comes in. And,
I know who it is.
Oh, you do?
I know.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Yeah. It's CRV USD and Conic.
I hope.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think, like, you're right. It can't be a monopoly on Curve. Frax can't be the only one bribing. And like, there are protocols that have like accumulated nice Curve, like convex stashes, like Reserve and, Badger accumulated one and whatnot. But I think CRV USD may be like the thing that like really kicks, it's actually like going to end up being like the best thing for Frax and the best thing for like the whole Curve ecosystem, because it helps power the Curve flywheel more. Like we had the interview with Curve Market Cap the other day. Like the way that their lending works, it's like the lending pairs are AMMs in themselves. That's pretty cool. Like I'm wondering like how those like lending are those lending pairs going to be connected to like like the base pool or maybe like a CRV pool, or like I have no idea how it's going to work. But like I think like CRV USD as an entering player, as a stablecoin, like it only makes sense for them to like enter and use their own ecosystem to the fullest. And then with Conic, it's just like omni-chain pools, and so they're just like put in like stables in the most efficient manner.
Yeah,
I don't know. What
I
do you
think
guys
there's
think?
a bunch of I think there's a bunch of challengers out there. I mean, it could be like Yearn coming back and retaking the mantle, right? Because they were the big boys before Convex came along, right? Or it could be CRV USD. I mean, I think there's a bunch of different options of who could come in and like restart the competition like deeply at Curve, but I think it's really necessary long term for the health of DeFi because Curve is like,
I guess like at that point, it's like
You think it's going to be these same players, or you think it's going to be like a brand new entrant?
I don't know.
I feel like if you have a whitelist, you're in like the best position to be a player.
Well, no, not particularly, right? Because you could bribe your way to success. Like, you don't need to get the whitelist permission.
JP Morgan's going to bribe their way into the Curve wars.
Maybe it is CRV USD, but I think one of my I feel like we're at like peak bearishness right now for the Curve ecosystem. Like everybody's saying like V tokenomics are just a bad deal. Like infinite emissions are just a bad deal. Like nobody wants to really be bullish on Curve at the moment. I think it's just wrong. I think that if there is a new competitor who can come in and really spark a lot of growth and a lot of volume or just usage on Curve itself, could be just CRV USD, that would be enough to flip the narrative on Curve right now and switch it back into hyper bullishness. And, Curve goes back up to
and if
all-time
CRV
highs,
USD
$10, $15. Yeah.
And if CRV USD can just like get fees and like, accumulate fees from their stablecoin activities, whether it's like creating vaults or like liquidation fees or like and whatnot, like that could be enough to outpace emissions. And then, super bullish curve market cap dream of Curve supremacy.
Let me ask you guys this. Do you guys think Curve will ever go into NFTs?
No.
Flat out no.
Not right now. I mean, that's not their MO.
No, I don't see it.
I agree. But I feel like I'm just thinking of Uniswap's move into NFTs.
Yeah, that's Uniswap's
right?
turf. Let them. Uniswap is trying to be more retail. And so like Curve is more like your advanced DeFi stuff.
Okay. That's fair. Because like, we all know this. We all check, Dune, and we see that Uniswap runs 70% of all swaps, like on dexes. And I'm just curious, why is that? Because of like just Curve router not being, routed by these aggregators, or what's up?
I think people are just doing smaller trades, and the smaller trades are just more efficient on Uni V3. But if you're like a whale, it's more efficient to do trades on Curve. I think they just have different audiences at the moment. And also, I think as more, go ahead.
I just like, I think that the Curve redemption arc story is the like the sleeping giant that we're not talking about, right? Like Curve USD could change the
Curve
whole
redemption arc. I like it.
Yes. I'm going to bank big on that one.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to go 2 predictions. One is like not so spicy. The other is really spicy. I'll start with not so spicy. Airdrop mania ends. I fucking hate airdrops, and I think like that meta's over. There'll be new ways to rally the community that are developed, and Arbitrum will not release a token this year. That's all in the same prediction. Because everyone's like Arbitrum airdrop, but like I think because it's a crab market, like there's no point for them to do it. I think they'll wait till like the next, they know they have the fire powder, so like when like they'll know when to like light it. And then if no one has any comments on that, my next prediction, I think this is a fun one. The new wave of Ponzus is gonna happen with DeSci and AI. a new vocabulary will be developed, like similar to DeFi Summer, to take hold of degens and the masses surrounding funding DeSci and like doing AI shit. I think that's going to happen because
Wow.
the Ponzus will always get rewrapped into something like shinier. You know, we saw it, whatever, like begin like 2013. It was just like, oh, like this is like a new like blockchain, like new type of, you know, new consensus, blah, blah, blah. And then 2017, it was ICOs. And then next it was like DeFi, like pool two shit. Next, I think like the most, I could be completely wrong, but I think like DeSci is a solid candidate for that. Maybe even like social token launches as well. But the Ponzus will be start to be rewrapped. That's my main thing. And I think DeSci is like a good, will be like a good narrative of like, oh, like funding like research, like this is, you know, people blah, blah, blah. Like, I mean, people like do penny biotech stocks all the time. Like that was like,
Okay, so you're saying like I can ape into anti-aging immortality research, and if I were to be the first to ape in this thing, I would earn an AP. Like I'm trying to think through all the Ponzonomics to kind of
well,
make
it's not
this.
necessarily like a, you know, it's not necessarily like APY. I mean, like maybe you combine the two. Maybe it's like you combine like ICO and APY. Maybe there's like a science yield farm or some
Oh,
stuff.
I see. So
Like
you're saying
providing
straight like
yeah,
crowd ownership of like the
crowd
patent or
ownership.
IP that comes
Yeah,
out of whatever
Yeah.
this research is.
yeah, yeah. I think
Mm.
DeSci is going to provide like the wrapper for the new shiny shit that's going to get wrapped, and it won't like take. I don't know if it will like take off in 2023, but like I think it's going to like begin to like take like the first ones will like take hold in 2023.
Kit, this may be a little bit more up your alley, but what do you think about like Gamezu, where it's GameFi
Gamezu.
Gamezu.
Gamezu. For
So
me,
we've yet to
you know,
have we've yet to have
I have
like a
love-hate relationship with
like a AAA game with NFTs and connected to
Mhm.
ETH or like built on some app chain or something like that. On Solana, you were
Right.
looking at what was the space game that they were making over there? That one,
Star Atlas.
Sky
yes,
of
sorry.
Star Atlas. Yeah.
They had a bunch of money on FTX. Unfortunately, like the runway is probably cut short. They might have to do another raise.
Half of
which
it
is
was gone. Yeah.
yeah, half is gone. It sucks. But they had built some
Huh.
awesome stuff, right? And eventually, we're gonna have AAA
Mhm.
games on. So maybe 2023 is the year where like the first big AAA game comes, and we get some really deep and big on-chain activity from that.
So games take a little bit longer to
Years.
build than just 1
Yes.
year. And
Yeah.
if you were to look at like what got fundraised for the past couple of years, got fundraised just last year, all of them were like seed rounds or like Series A round.
Yeah.
So like very, very early in their life cycle still. And there are a lot of them launching a mobile game takes much less time, like a year or so you probably pump out like a pretty good title. But like, the thing for me about games is that it's fun is an iterative process. They have to keep on optimizing, and
Mhm.
it is a very, very A/B test driven type of experience for the users. And
Mhm.
monetization is going to be extremely tough. So for me, I don't think gaming is going to come like all the private betas and all of those type of releases will come like next year, but I don't think it's going to hit until maybe 2024 is where like real titles start picking up traction. Because
Yeah.
remember, the games that crushes it, for example, was like Among Us, right back in 2020 during COVID, where everybody was locked up. That game Among Us just took off. Like
Mhm.
I think there needs to have like a title that is like, unless something like that happens, which is very kind of easy game to ship. Like if something like that happens, then yes, we will see the acceleration of GameFi Summer or Gamezu, as
Gamezu.
Sam coined it, Gamezu.
Gamezu.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my take on it. I don't think it's going to be the next cycle, but I do think
It's coming.
Web3 commerce, yeah, like just Web3 commerce, like how I feel. I'll give you an example of like using Web3, rather using crypto rails for payment or for asset management or for any of those things like that, I think is going to come in 2023. Like a lot of these e-commerce websites are going to start using, like, whether it be crypto payments, whether it be just, having a ledger just to track like ownership of certain things. Like I think that's going to come. Like creating quests for a user to go through, to get to know the brand better, having like meta games like across, like, uh, your whole suite of brands. For example, you're like, hey, go buy, some Dove skin wash, also go buy some Dove face wash, and like do all of these things, and you're gonna earn like some badges, and you're like, a Dove ambassador, like et cetera, et cetera. I think that is going to come, and that's going to
And that
feed
kind of
into
plays
the
into
Web3
like just
commerce.
identity, because like commerce and identity like go hand in hand. Like who's buying the stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
how
yeah.
do you keep
So,
track of it? Yeah.
dude, so that's exactly right. So I've always had this thesis of like NFTs are actually a way to tokenize a relationship you have with a brand. For example, I subscribed to Amazon Prime for the last 10 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say I earned this badge of like, hey, NFT for Amazon subscriber for 10 years. Now other brands would recognize that, wow, this person is a loyal subscriber. If I'm like Netflix or Hulu or any of these subscription services, I would try to promote and give me a promotion of like, hey, we'll give you 3 months free of Netflix if you were to, come over, because we know that you have this behavior, right? And now let's say I left, and went to another country that does not have Amazon Prime. Then I'm like, well, there's no need for me to keep on paying for Prime, but I have earned this badge, and this badge comes with a ton of promotional offers from so many other, companies. So this badge is worth something to someone who wants it. So then I'm able to sell my relationship that I had with Amazon over the last 10 years in this NFT badge to someone else. Because now this other person may want that 3 month
It's
free
like
of Hulu, or that, 6 months free of this gym membership, or
it's like
whatever the
airline
fuck it is,
points.
or whatever it is. But yeah, it's like airline points, except in a more package way, where it allows me to do segmentation as a marketer, to be like, hey, I want to target people who have really high LTVs, which is lifetime value, and I want to target them that has, subscription over at least 12 months of retention, so that, because I know that's what it costs me to break even on my customer acquisition costs. Like I think Web3 tracking, the ability to track all this, is going to completely change commerce. And then that's what I meant by Web3 commerce.
I like that prediction because at first it made me like go like ew, cringe, like commerce, that's never gonna happen. But then I stopped myself. I was like, wait a second, like that kind of reaction a bunch of people's gonna have, a bunch of people will have, and that will be like an unexpected thing. Like that could be like one of the
Very.
unexpected things that come out of 2023. So we know we like these contrarian predictions. We like it. Like I have my doubts like for 2023, but like it makes sense. Like especially from the identity standpoint. The things that would need to be figured out though are like privacy concerns and like
Mm-hmm.
making sure like
Yeah.
people's information are safe, and that leads me to like do like ZK stuff, blah blah blah.
Mm.
But Sam, what do you think of Web3 commerce?
Yeah, it's coming. People just, I just don't think anybody's figured it out yet. Like, we need to have this like
Facts.
pseudo hot
Yeah.
wallet infrastructure where like you can move money between like cold and hot wallets. Maybe it's just like, maybe it's, I don't, maybe it comes in the form of like a centralized exchange like Coinbase getting the ability to
Yeah.
have a credit card connected to your account or something. I don't really know. The payment structure there is
Yeah,
a little bit different.
and like some account, yeah,
Yeah. They something like
Yeah.
log in with Coinbase. You know how they log in with Google or something?
Yeah.
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 It's funny
Like
with like open
everything with
auth,
payments
like
is moving
that's yeah.
towards, yeah, everything with payments is moving towards like QR codes, right? So uh, maybe we get towards like a generalized QR code that you just scan and then you can choose on your phone, like if you want to pay with crypto or you want to pay with your bank account. I don't know. I mean, um, it's a big
Oh
big
really?
problem that people are
Okay.
trying to solve.
Whoa. Whoa.
I agree.
Oh, the
So no,
Wi-Fi
no, no. I
couldn't
think
catch it.
it'll
Yeah.
be,
Actually, that's another
it could be
prediction of
big.
mine, is like Wi-Fi. like decentralized Wi-Fi. I
Really?
think it's also
Really?
like DY.
DY?
I have a buddy
So you're
who
a big
runs, like,
helium
I know
holder.
nothing about the space, but he's like one of the largest distributor in North America for helium miners. So
I have my doubts about helium. I just like read like, I mean, all these things could theoretically become a thing, and it's not a thing until it's a thing. But
Yeah.
like, I don't like the model can't be so Ponzi-nomical. It seemed like helium was like pretty Ponzi. I'm just like, I get my doubts on stuff when like when I first hear of something from someone that like isn't in the space, or like if I hear something that like kind of feels like packaged and stuff, I just like my like defenses come up. I'm just like, how would you like hear if unless you're like an expert, unless like you're like an expert in that field. Like for example, if like all my like smart dev friends are excited about ZK, then like I'm gonna get excited about ZK. Or like this actually happened to me this year. So my friend told me about Be Real in like February of this year, and she's just like, you know, a 20-something-year-old girl like who was in the scene in LA, like super social, and she told me about it. I'm like, huh, that's interesting. Like, and I downloaded. I probably did it for a few days, and I didn't use it for 6 months. And then 6 months later, it became the #1 app in the App Store, and all my friends are posting their Be Reals. But like, I'm not surprised that like my friend who was like super social and then like in these like scenes, like was one of the first on this app. So whether it's like a social app or like, you know, zero knowledge proof technology, you know, be aware of like who's telling you this information first, you know.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
You know me, man. Yeah, 100%. It's like that's your version of like checking the chain for me, right? Like you just check your network of experts, your brain trust, and to see what things are exciting to them. 100%. Like I think
Exactly.
that's a very common model.
Yeah. And then continuing with like ZK, I'm going to go into one of my predictions. I think ZK continues like, you know, continues development, continues like to get hype, but I don't think like there's no major hockey stick growth moments for ZK until 2024. I think we're still in building mode.
You think the tech is not ready, or you think the applications are not ready, or what's your take?
A little bit of both. Like, I don't, you know, I mean, people are like building and stuff, and there's like a lot of hype around it, but these things always get delayed. And I think it would be more fitting, like, for the timing to be in 2024 when, like, you probably see like interest rates like the macro environment improves, and you know, Bitcoin halving happens. We'll see how much of an effect that actually has now, because like crypto is so much bigger than that. But I still think it's like a little bit of a factor. But these cycles have been in 4 years, and so like I think we're going to continue on that like 4-year trajectory. And 2024, like I think that's when, you know, the fun starts again. But that goes into my #1 prediction of like crap continues, and like one of the things that could get us out of the crap are like ZKs. And I think that's just, you know, not just revolutionary for like blockchain tech, but just like a lot of different things as well, like privacy, you know, computation, all that. But still, you know, I'm still bullish ZK, but I'm not sure if anything happens in 2023.
Interesting. Okay, I haven't been really caught up with the ZK stuff.
Yeah, a little bit. And like, I don't know how I feel about ZK EVM still. Like, I mean, like, I think ZK, I mean, that's just, it takes like a while to like put all like match like the virtual machine to the circuits and this and that. But like, I feel like you're just better off using a native VM, which leads to my next prediction. I'll do one more and then pass it back to you. I think VMs other than EVM will continue to grow. Cairo VM, Solana VM, Fuel VM will continue to like attract developers, but it's still up for debate who takes #2.
#2. So you think EVM is going to stay the top?
EVM will still, yeah, I think EVM will still stay the top, but I think how it like EVM is far from perfect, and I think like there'll be and like there's still so much market share to be had, not just in like DeFi, but in like all Web3 types of applications, and maybe different like virtual machines better for that, you know. So, and like, you know, Solana, I think, you know, Solana already made it through one bear market, like they already made it through one rough. But I think, you know, I think those guys are like built different, and now they have like a community of devs and believers, and the builders are still there. So like, I am like bullish Solana long term, and I think Cairo, just with like the whole hype around Starknet is like undeniable, especially like recently with Visa announcing them like introducing account abstraction using Cairo, using Starknet. Like I'm like, oh, like, so I think those two are the contenders. Free VM sounds interesting. I just don't know too much about it. I just know it's like another VM player, and I wanted to list it there because I've seen like some talk about it. I just have to look into it more. But the whole premise is like it's not going to be an EVM monopoly. That's what and that'll be more apparent in 2023.
I mean, isn't that kind of the same as saying you believe in all L1s will have a place? Because that's, or are you saying all these VMs will be built on top of ETH some way, somehow?
I think they'll be connected to ETH some way, somehow, and that gets into another prediction of mine. but maybe not necessarily like, yeah. I mean, whether, well, maybe not. I think a lot of them will like surround it around ETH. It depends like how fast certain things get released. Like it's very, it's funny. Like we haven't even mentioned Cosmos yet, or Cosmos at all in this episode.
I know.
But I think I don't know. Well, we will see what happens. But I think like ETH dominance is like undeniable right at the moment. But like there's still like room for like others to grow. Like in terms of like, I mean, I'm thinking VMs as differently than like chains themselves. We'll see what happens with Solana, what happens with like Cosmos. Like those are probably the two best, and we'll see what happens with Polygon and BNB. Like it'll be a multi-chain world, but it's just like a matter of like, will they change their like virtual machine? This and I don't know. There's like a lot of questions, but that's kind of like outside my like VM prediction.
I see. All right. So last prediction for me is, I think something is going to crack in NFT Fi. Like something is going to unlock, because there's still quite a lot of value in the NFT markets, like writ large, and like something there is going to unlock, and it could be Astaria, Astaria's model. Yeah, like there's going to be a unlock in NFTs, and for a long time I thought it was going to be like the pseudo AMMs. I always thought that was going to be like the crazy thing, but okay, it's picking up some traction. But I think there's going to be something, and I don't think it's going to be native to like a JPEG, like, or some kind of a profile picture project. I think it's going to be something else.
Ooh.
Something else, like another asset that's going to be represented by an NFT, and that's the whole
music. NFTs finally come to the foray.
Shout out Audius. But yeah, that's all of my take. Last one is BTC on DeFi. It's going to be a dark horse.
It's
going to be
I was waiting for someone to say that.
Yeah. BTC DeFi is a dark horse. Yeah. I agree with Raheem when you brought that up. I was like, it's a dark horse. It's 100%. Like no one's going to think about it, and then out of nowhere, it's like, like,
it depends how receptive Bitcoiners are to like DeFi. It depends like along the spectrum of philosophy of Bitcoiners, because you have like those that are just like, it just needs to be like hard money, 21 million, this and that, blah blah blah. And then you have other ones that like want to like Bitcoin to like reach its full potential and think there can be a computation part to it, and like you can have DeFi to it. So I think it's definitely things are building, but I think what it is. I think like you may not have like Aves and stuff, but I think you will have stablecoins on BTC at least. I think you're gonna like, and you've already have
a deposit.
Pools.
Yeah, you would at least have like a deposit CD account of some sort, right? Where you can earn yield and someone wants to take extra leverage or loans or whatever. Like a credit market is going to emerge, I feel. As like a very base layer, like no swaps, no like name coin, like none of that stuff. Color coins, none of that stuff. Just itself. And everything around Bitcoin. I feel dark horse. But that's it on my end. That's what I'm going to close 2022 with. Oh, you did? Okay.
I got two more predictions. The financialization of block space and block building will take place and continue and ramp up. People will build derivatives around just block space and block building in general. I think that's just you're already kind of seeing derivatives around like validators and whatnot with like Lido and FrxETH and Rocket Pool and whatnot.
Okay.
And then I feel like there's like more that can be like done that we haven't seen yet. And I think a lot of things may be unlocked with Shanghai, no pun intended. And like I think like, you know, every variable like allows for like more innovation and allows for more design space in DeFi. And so I think Shanghai, like when Shanghai happens, you're going to see some innovation happen. And also just like maybe people like, you know, building markets around like blocks of these like validators and whatnot. But anyways, like financialization of block space and block building. And then my last one is middleware will continue to grow. Eigenlayer will take center stage as the marketplace for all blockchain projects looking to secure their middleware infrastructure. And it'll help proliferate modular blockchains while harnessing the power of Ethereum.
That's a good one. I think that goes along the lines with like the modularity and like almost, you know, blockchain as a service, like every bit of the blockchain, every part of the blockchain, right? Celestia also, right? That comes right in there to fit under that theme too.
I just feel like Eigenlayer is like a better version of like all of them because it just harnesses the power of Ethereum, which is already like have years of Lindy and this and that. I mean, granted, I could be wrong, and like, you know, I respect what like everyone else is doing, but I feel like Eigenlayer just like puts ETH like back in the forefront in a big way.
Yeah.
Or even like true. Have a bigger lead in a bigger way than before, because before it was like, you know,
And to everyone out there, we hold ETH. We are biased. We want the ETH price to go up. So yes.
Not financial advice.
Financial advice.
I don't know. I'm still like scarred from my early days in crypto, and like I'm just like always will be like low key, like, you know, like ETH model. Like I just, you know, the whole, you know, ETH, just so much soul still on ETH. So, you know, and then so okay. Anyways, that's our predictions for 2023. We have some both contrarian voices as well as, you know, common consensus. I think we're all like thinking in the same way for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think we're all like on the same page, like in the right direction. And anyways, thank y'all for listening and watching. I know we're going to see you next year, and to keep up with everything Flywheel, because we have some big things coming, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell button. Let us know what you think in the comments. We really want to hear what you think. Like, what are your predictions for 2023? What do you think of like 2022 we missed? Let us know in the comments. You can follow us on Twitter at FlywheelPod. Join the conversation at FlywheelPod. You can follow me on Twitter at DeFi Dave.
You can follow me at 0xcapital_K.
And I'm at Traders
Actually, DeFi Dave 22.
Yeah.
Follow me on Twitter at DeFi Dave 22. We'll see you next year. We'll see you next year.
We will see you next year. Woo!
Peace.
So good.